Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am the Sparkle Queen, aka the Angel. This message is for it's for women really, and some men who have found themselves in a very difficult situation. I resonate with this topic because it's something that's also happened to me too. That is, if women, young girls or women who have found themselves basically pregnant and single, or shortly after having the baby, they're single. Sometimes if you do meet the wrong person and you haven't really spent that much time getting to know them before you're doing the hanky-panky, and you find you're pregnant and you have a test, you do your scan, you find that you're expecting, you might even be 3 months in. Everybody's circumstances will be different, I suppose, but it can be the fact that your hormones as a female is already for changing because of the baby, and then you find out that the father or the potential father or the mother is not prepared. It's a live and learn kind of experience, especially if it's your first. If you go back and have another child with that person, then that's really on you. I just want to veer off topic slightly, because I want to say that when I first started my YouTube channel, it was very heavily religious or more faith. And what I came to realize is that when I was doing that kind of content, I was not reaching the people so to speak. So I have consciously changed the dynamics of my channel to try and reach more people, not who already reads their Bible and seeks after the Lord, because they're already on the right path, I believe. It's more to speak youngsters, young women, young adults in the world that could do with some kind of guidance, and it's said in a way that they understand, that they can resonate with. So I have changed my content, and I just thought I'd put it in there because I was looking at a video of mine that I think I'd done maybe in the pandemic actually, and from then till now a lot has changed, a lot has happened. And I am consciously aware, and even myself learning all the time, growing in my own understanding and knowledge as well. So my heart is being led to talk to people that is not necessarily part of any faith, and they're still, my son's annoying. He's on their computer just screaming the place down. Yeah, to talk to people who are still part of the world and really haven't really come to a full understanding on themselves yet. The reason why I feel led, because when I was in the world and I looked at people that were in the faith, I just felt it was just too heavy for me to make that transition. Even though I ended up making a transition on my own accord, really and truly, no one can really bring you to a place of submission when it comes to faith. It's something that has to take its toll on you. Normally it's many things happening, to be honest with you, and then you probably find that you've exhausted all avenues which are humanly possible, physically possible, that you can see, and you hit a brick wall and realize this is no longer physical attacks, these are spiritual, and that's when you are brought to your knees and you cry out and say, Lord, help me. Mainly for some people it's near-death experience. It could be something detrimental to the system, like a shock to the system, and they realize I need spiritual help. And it's like an inner knowing. Even if you were someone that never had that connection before, you was just out here in the world just living your life as a movie watching, alcohol drinking, dabbling in drugs, party going, there was just no restrictions, no boundaries. I was that person. I was that person who was doing everything I just mentioned above. So there is no judgment, believe you me. But let's quickly pop back to the topic why I'm here, because I went through a terrible experience with my son, and this is something I've never shared on my channel before, but I feel like me sharing my experience will help somebody prevent it, like a prevention, and also somebody going through this type of experience. So when I lost my mum 2012, and I was going through a depression around that time. Not like it looked like a depression, because I was very much active, I was working, I was out and about, I think I even was going gym, but there was a sense of emptiness, loneliness within me. And I was seeing this particular guy at the time. I really liked him. Probably never told him this, but if he finds this video, then he will know. Yes, I really liked him at the time. But he had already had 2 children, and his responsibility was to the children, even though he wasn't with the mother. And the children was quite young. So things never really popped off like serious with that individual. Well, going forward, that was over. We came to an end on that. And then I met my son's father. And I would say that it was like jumping out of the fire into the frying pan. Yes, it was. Oh my God. Not compatible. And I think because I was in, and this is not an excuse, but I'm just explaining my experience, how that came to be. I was in a funk, and I can look back now and say that I really wasn't in a position to be talking to anybody. I should have really been healing so much from, the death of my mum, the person I met before that, and this inner sadness that I was going through. So my son's father is more like what you call a jinnal. Just that's like somebody that says one thing but does another. Someone you can't really trust. You have to second question what they're saying to you. They feel no problems telling lies. Well, to be honest with you, he has most of the characteristics of what you would call a narcissist. But all the same, that's who he's chosen to be. And my son and our son came forward through that. Now, I knew earlier on I did not want to continue a relationship with this type of person, but I didn't feel in my decision to go ahead and do an abortion. That's God's honest truth. And while I was pregnant, I had a serious conversation with myself, and I said, will I be able to do this? And I thought to myself, this is a very hard decision because you just don't know what the outcome will be. But the abortion, it was just never really an option. I was already 35, and I know of stories of females who have had an abortion before, and they found out when they are ready to have children with the right person, they cannot get pregnant anymore. It's somehow messed them up. But if you're with God, nothing's impossible. But through the doctors, through science, they cannot have kids. So I said, I'm going to keep my child. I'm going to, it's not the child's fault that I've made this mistake took these actions to bring forth my child. And I was hoping that my son's father could also see it somewhat the same too, which is that we can both co-parent together and look after the child. But he decided that he was not going to help. He decided that he had it was just a bad energy. He's got a very bad energy, and he created so much distance and discord, dysfunction, and all I wanted to do at the time was just co-parent. When I realized that this child came and I started to look after this child, it was not easy. I also didn't have really the support I have brothers and sisters, but I've never had the support of brothers and sisters in this time. And I was basically thrusted out as a single mother, doing it completely by myself. And in fact, when I look back at him now, and I look back to what we both went through and how the age he is now and how he's developed and everything, I can honestly say it was by the grace of God who really supported me, helped me, administered to me, spoke to me, comfort me, love me. If it wasn't for God and God sending his angels down to me, I don't know if I could have done it. And I tell you what, I wouldn't advise any woman to be a single woman with expecting a child doing this. It's not an easy ride. It is a very hard struggle in terms of, especially if your child can have problems. My child had colic. So colic, there was a constant screaming every day at a certain particular time. He had a lot of gas that he couldn't release out. Then there's the teething stage. I mean, it was horrendous. My God. And I found myself, you know, my social life didn't exist anymore. I was not going out. There was no one to say, oh, take the baby, because this baby is so fussy. And that's another thing. You do not know how your child is going to come. I had a crying, fussy baby. So there was no social life. But like, hey, I was 35. I never felt like I needed to go out there and do anything. Believe you me, I tried most of the stuff. So I wasn't missing the world. I just wanted support from time to time, just to say, tag me in and let me relax and so forth. But yes, there was a lot of resentment in that early stage towards my son's father. In fact, it was just a hate. I couldn't stand his voice. It got to the point of anger. And every time he called, it was to call me on the phone. And men shouldn't, young men as well, just shouldn't really do this. If you've got a woman that's looking after the child and she's doing 90 to 100% of the work, you have no right to call that woman up and start abusing her and trying to disrupt her emotions while she's looking after the baby. And I found my son's father would call me up with nothing really to say. He wasn't coming over to help me with the child, but he was always on the phone, yak, talking crap. Very abusive, and just a lot of rubbish coming out of his mouth. And I got to the point where I said, why am I even listening to this? You're not doing the chores, you're not taking him on, he's not staying at your house, but yet you keep calling me that you think you have this platform that you can call me to start abusing me down the phone. So I came to a point where I realized that if I'm doing it all, what do I need to talk to you for? I don't need to talk to you, and that is what really started off the anger and the resentment and the hatred at the time. Mind you, I'm in a place of peace now. I really do not feel any of those things. But what I was going to say is that when I look back at my son now, I have to give myself a round of applause, because if it wasn't for the grace of God, this is what I was trying to say, I could never have done it. I have solely raised that boy by myself. And I've seen messages on other people's platform, on social media, where women have are in where I was, though, like 9 years ago. And I look at that and they feel like crushed, like their world is crushed. And some of them say, he left me for somebody else and I've got to raise these kids. You will heal. Believe you me, everything is a season, and you probably don't see it now, but that man's doing you a favor. The woman that he's with, and it just seems hard because you have someone else to take care of. But trust me, the woman that he's with, he's just moved on to tear someone else down. If someone can, be in your life, give you children, and don't even look back to support you with those kids, they were never a nice or a good person to ever want to be around anyway. And he's the person, the father who would do such a thing has just gone off to be a complete pain in the butt to somebody else. They're doing you a favor. It's a peace of mind. Now, as for the women, because there are some single fathers out here, so I'm not going to forget about you guys. There are single fathers who have sole custody of their children due to the fact the mother is probably in a position of, normally it's mental health or hooked on drugs, to be honest. And then you do get some women that decide that they don't want to look after them anymore because they don't love the father and they don't want kids, they don't want the responsibility. There is a small portion without drugs or mental health. I take my hat off to you two, because you stepped up to the plate. You never handed them over to social services, and you've tried to keep your children, your family together as much as possible. Nobody knows. There's never one rule, even though there are certain things that you can do to prevent these things. There's not one rule that you can say, do this and this is definitely going to happen. It just doesn't work like that. Many of us find ourselves in circumstances because most people have gone mad. Most of us are in the world. Look, just a second. I seem to be getting a lot of messages that are just garbage messages. Most people are in the world. Most people have gone mad. So most of the time it's based on a feeling. So if someone feels good at the time, then they're doing that at the time. But the minute they change their mind, they decide, oh, I don't want this anymore. And unfortunately, when you bring forth children, you don't get the opportunity to say, oh, I don't want to be responsible anymore. And then that responsibility falls solely on someone else. And the children do suffer if there's an absent parent. So the steps that I would suggest you take in the beginning is, and this is based on my experience, just with my own dating experience, is definitely take your time and get to know someone. If the person is trying to push sex with you, then cut them off, because you don't get to. Sex or lust is not it's not building a proper foundation with anybody. And if you're looking for a proper foundation, then having lusting someone lusting after you is not gonna take you to that next step, or even fundamentally get to know who the person is. And some people's character is very vital that you get to know who they are, because some of them are no good. Some of them, if you know who they are and the mindset and how they think, you would not associate with them. So taking your time would prevent you from making any rash decisions, because those are the kind of people that do want to rush. They want to rush sex with you because they don't want you to see who they are as a person, their faults and their wickedness and how they think. They probably don't even really care for you. They're just in a very low vibrational cardinal state, and they just want to just get this act happening before you can even start questioning anything about them behind the act. Another thing is, if you found yourself in a place of where you're feeling lonely, or loneliness, depression, those kinds of emotions you will have within you is a telltale sign that you're not ready to date anyone, like I had mentioned in my video. Because when you are picking your partner or you are meeting people within that time, you're really, your emotions, let's say this again. Let's start this one again. Because we're energy, and your energy is low, if you are lonely or depressed or bored or whatever, you are picking someone based on a low energy. So who steps into your orbit, it don't matter what they look like. They could have the chiseled body of a Roman or like six-pack muscle. It doesn't matter what they look like, It's the mindset, it's the energy of that person. And if you're in a low vibrational state, you will meet someone in a low vibrational state. And what you ultimately tell the universe when you are in that low vibrational state, and you allow the dance of meeting, that interacting, meeting someone, the lust, all that stuff, is that you are not ready to meet someone serious as well. You have to, when you meet the right person, you have to come ready. And when I mean ready, that means that you are not in a place of lack. So you don't feel like, oh, I'm lonely and I wish I had company, or you don't feel, because loneliness, it means that, or is boredom, and boredom means you're looking for fun, just to break that down to you. And you're not telling God, this is what I'm looking for. If you're in a place of depression, that means you're in balance. So don't be surprised if you don't meet someone as equally in balance as you, to remind you that your depression needs to be taken care of. Before you can date anybody and have someone that you can look to say, can I spend the rest of my life with this person? And that's how you should look at anybody before you think of anything to do with jumping into bed with them. You have to be able to feel like, and be 100% sure, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I think we need to start scaling some things back, and one of them is who we sleep with. Because we build soul ties that way with the wrong individuals. If we scale back who we're sleeping with, then we will save ourselves a lot of heartache along the way. Because those types of people are not looking for a long time, they're looking for a good time. And that means it's very short, And even if it's good, it doesn't matter if it's good sex. Still learn to have, if you're a man, practice semen retention. If you're a woman, practice distracting yourself, go off and do other things. In fact, if you feel the person, that's all they're pushing from you, learn to block and delete quickly. Depression, sorry, I veered off slightly. Depression means that you are imbalanced really at this time. It doesn't mean you're going to be in that emotion for the rest of your life. It's just you are in a place of depression, and you could easily have suicidal thoughts, or you could easily have self-harm in that time, or drink a lot of alcohol, or meet someone that drinks a lot of alcohol. And because of where you are, you might meet someone who's abusive towards you, controlling towards you, and you get the opposite, unfortunately. And it's to push you to heal. It's to push you to work on yourself. That is how that's what God's law is, unfortunately. That's what it is. I don't particularly like it. It took me a while to understand it, and I'm telling you, because I'm not perfect, I had to learn it as well the hard way. You know, just like I mentioned with my son, I had to be this single mother with a child who never started talking to the age of 2, who was very fussy, who had other additional needs. I learned the hard way. Not only that, I've learned through previous relationships where the people that's come along has backstabbed me because I was gullible and naive. Once I came into God, once I started to study the Word of God, once God started to have His angels or hosts administer to me, I could learn where I was going wrong and how I was applying myself, even though I meant nothing apart from good towards everybody that I meet. It was still from a place of unknowing, unknowledgeable, didn't have discernment, I didn't draw lines in the sand to say that's my boundary. Naive. And when people notice your naivety, instead of saying this person's just innocently simple or innocently not stupid but just naive, you think that they will do right by you. They will do like they say, when people are down, you kick a dog while it's down. Unfortunately, this is how humans are. When they're in a position that they can get away with something and you're in a vulnerable position, they will take advantage to the max until someone says, you are taking the pee, you need to stop. And unless there's someone around to tell them to stop, they will continue to keep going. That's just how it goes, not just in a relationship, in all aspects of life. You know, not everybody is like me that will just, it doesn't matter who's watching or who's around, you know, I treat everybody equally, from baby to the elderly, one way, and that is just authentic and from the heart. But there's not many people like that. So it was a bit of a rant somewhere, but I hope you get the message in between, because the truth is that too many young girls are falling in the same pattern, and it's because it's your environment and what you've learned within your environment. You probably haven't learned to really court. You have not been taught how to really date. You don't understand how certain procedures need to be. And you need to be a bit mean as well. You need to be a bit mean and don't allow yourself to be like you've got no life, and you just, as soon as someone comes along, you're just there and available for everything that they want you to do. Have your life. You go out, you enjoy yourself, you study, you get yourself some certificates, you learn to drive. If you don't drive, learn to ride a bike, go on a few holidays, fill your time with things you want to do, make you the priority, and then within that, develop a relationship with God. God's helped me, and I would never ever give anyone any false information. You can go to church if that's what you choose to do, or you can do it the way I did it. You can have a personal relationship with God. Even if I'm not doing the right thing all of the time, I still know what the right things that I'm supposed to be doing. God lets me know that yet what you're doing is wrong. Okay, so I can be rebellious, and I think it's just still part of learning and changing and everything else within myself. But I definitely wouldn't go down the route of single parenthood ever again. I don't know if I'll have children ever again. I don't know if I didn't enjoy it, because I had to do it the most tough and hardest ways out of it all. And I'm telling you, there was no help. I had my son 24/7. The only time there was separation, the majority of the time, and this was a consistent basis, is when he went to school. So I was with him constantly. It does put you off. It can put you off. But every day, every year he gets older, and every year I celebrate that birthday, because it's coming to the end of him being responsible for himself and the next chapter for his life, which would be to be, educated, working, whatever. And I can look back and think, I made it. And it ain't far off now, But I mean, yes, I love him to the bone. He knows that. And I tell you the truth, he was also a blessing, a silver light. He was that silver lining within a terrible situation. He's my best friend. And, he's he's my best friend. I love my son to the core. I tell him all the time that I love him, and but I know he's growing up and he doesn't like as much kisses on the face or the forehead anymore. But yeah, sorry, I'm just going off into a rant, but I love my son to pieces. Anyway, I am the Sparkle Queen. I'll see you next time. I hope that helps. See you till next time. Bye.